In 2022, Australia faced an unprecedented challenge due to rising sea levels caused by climate change. Coastal cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane were experiencing higher water levels, putting millions of homes, office buildings, and infrastructure at risk. The Australian government knew it had to act swiftly to prevent catastrophic events, including the potential collapse of buildings due to the saturation of soil and foundations from excessive water exposure. The government, already recognised for its forward-thinking approaches to urban planning, leveraged its expertise in high technology and smart infrastructure to implement advanced systems aimed at regulating property, facility, and real estate management. These systems were designed not only to monitor environmental conditions, but also to enforce strict building codes and standards to avert the looming crisis of collapsing buildings. The first significant step was the deployment of an integrated real-time monitoring system powered by IoT Internet of Things sensors. These sensors were installed on critical infrastructure, such as bridges, high-rise buildings, and residential areas prone to flooding. They measured soil moisture, groundwater levels, and structural integrity of foundations in real time. By integrating this data with satellite imaging and weather forecasts, the government was able to predict areas at the highest risk of foundation weakening or flooding. With this information, authorities could quickly issue warnings or even mandate temporary evacuations of buildings deemed unsafe due to compromised foundations. Building contractors, property developers, and facility managers were given access to this data through a centralized platform. This allowed them to make informed decisions about ongoing projects, maintenance, or emergency interventions. For instance, if a particular area showed a rapid rise in soil moisture, contractors could initiate additional support systems for buildings or conduct immediate drainage to relieve pressure. Alongside the real-time monitoring system, Australia overhauled its building codes and standards, placing a strong emphasis on climate-resilient design. Engineers, architects, and urban planners were required to adhere to new regulations that factored in not only current conditions but also future climate projections. Buildings in areas with high water tables had to be designed with advanced waterproofing technologies. Foundations were reinforced with materials that could withstand prolonged exposure to moisture without weakening. Additionally, structures were required to incorporate systems that allowed for the collection and safe dispersal of excess water, preventing it from accumulating around the building's base. To enforce compliance, the Australian government adopted a blockchain-based certification system. This system tracked every stage of a building's development, from planning and design to construction and final inspection. Each step was verified by accredited professionals, ensuring that the latest climate-resilient standards were being met. Any deviations from the standards were flagged instantly, and developers faced heavy penalties for non-compliance. For existing properties, the government introduced a predictive maintenance program. AI-powered drones regularly flew over buildings and infrastructure, conducting detailed scans to detect potential weaknesses, such as cracks in foundations or walls. These drones could also identify areas where water was pooling or where soil was eroding, which might lead to future structural issues. Facility managers were provided with digital twins of their buildings, virtual replicas that mirrored the real-time conditions of the property. These digital twins allowed managers to simulate various scenarios, such as heavy rainfall or flooding, and assess how their buildings would respond. If the simulation indicated that a building was at risk of collapse, immediate action could be taken to reinforce it or relocate occupants. The government incentivized building owners and facility managers to invest in these high-tech solutions by offering tax breaks and grants for retrofitting properties to meet new climate standards. These measures significantly reduced the likelihood of structural failures, even in areas where water levels had risen drastically. The success of these high-tech initiatives depended on collaboration between multiple levels of government, private companies, and the general public. The federal government worked closely with state and local authorities to roll out the monitoring systems, update building codes, and ensure that developers and facility managers complied with the new standards. Public awareness campaigns were launched to educate citizens about the risks of rising water levels and the importance of climate-resilient buildings. Residents were encouraged to participate in monitoring their own properties by using government-provided apps that link to the National Sensor Network. Through these apps, homeowners could receive alerts about potential risks, such as soil instability or rising groundwater, and take immediate action to protect their homes. By 2030, Australia had managed to avert what could have been a nationwide crisis of collapsing buildings. While some areas did experience significant flooding, the advanced monitoring systems and reinforced building codes prevented any large-scale structural failures. In fact, Australia's approach to property, facility, and real estate management became a model for other nations grappling with similar climate-related challenges. The combination of real-time data, predictive technology, and stringent building standards proved to be a powerful defense against the forces of nature. Australia demonstrated that with the right use of high technology, even the most daunting environmental challenges could be mitigated, ensuring the safety of its citizens and the longevity of its infrastructure. Property and facility management perspective. From the property and facility management point of view, Australia's use of advanced technology reshaped how managers approached their roles. Instead of reactive measures that only addressed problems after they occurred, facility managers were empowered with predictive tools to anticipate and prevent structural issues. Real-time monitoring of soil moisture, groundwater levels, and foundation stability provided instant insights into a building's health. Facility managers no longer had to wait for visible signs of wear or damage before taking action. Drones and digital twins enabled them to catch problems early. The centralized platform for monitoring allowed managers to have full control of their assets from a distance, making proactive decisions on maintenance and ensuring the long-term stability of properties. This approach not only enhanced safety but also saved costs in the long run, as preventive maintenance is often far cheaper than emergency repairs. Facility managers were also responsible for ensuring that their buildings complied with new climate-resilient codes, incorporating waterproofing and drainage systems. The shift toward these technologies ensured that buildings could withstand changing environmental conditions, reducing the risk of structural failure and extending the life of assets. Moral perspective. The moral responsibility of safeguarding human lives and protecting property was central to the Australian government's approach. The rising water levels threatened not only the physical structures, but also the lives and livelihoods of millions of Australians. By integrating high technology and revising building codes, the government prioritised human safety above all else. There was also a strong sense of environmental stewardship. Australia's proactive measures took into account the long-term consequences of climate change, showing a commitment to preserving cities and homes for future generations. This moral approach went beyond protecting assets. It was about protecting communities, livelihoods, and the country's future. Furthermore, by educating the public and making technology accessible, the government fostered a culture of shared responsibility. Homeowners and developers were encouraged to be active participants in safeguarding their properties, reinforcing the collective moral duty to ensure that buildings were safe for everyone. Legal perspective. Legally, the Australian government introduced strict regulations to enforce climate-resilient construction and facility management practices. The new building codes were not optional, they were mandatory. Failure to comply with these regulations carried severe penalties, including hefty fines and legal action against developers or property owners who did not adhere to safety standards. Blockchain-based certification ensured transparency and accountability throughout the entire construction process. Every stage of development, from design to final inspection, was recorded and verified by professionals, providing legal assurance that the buildings met the highest standards of safety and resilience. This system minimized the risk of corruption or oversight, ensuring that the rules were enforced across the board. The legal framework also extended to retrofitting existing structures, requiring property owners to upgrade buildings that were at risk of collapse or structural failure due to the changing environment. The legal obligations emphasized not only new constructions, but also the responsibility of current property owners to safeguard their assets in line with modern climate projections. Lessons learned. Australia's approach offers several key lessons for countries facing similar challenges, especially those grappling with rising sea levels or extreme weather conditions. Proactive vs reactive management. The importance of shifting from reactive to proactive facility and property management cannot be overstated. Real-time monitoring and predictive maintenance tools allow facility managers to address issues before they escalate into disasters. This minimizes both financial loss and risks to human safety. Integrated technology for resilience. Countries must embrace technology such as IoT, sensors, AI-powered systems, and blockchain for transparency in building projects. These technologies provide essential data to make informed decisions about maintenance, structural integrity, and safety. By incorporating this tech into national infrastructure planning, countries can better prepare for environmental challenges. Stringent and forward-looking building codes. Nations must update their building codes and standards to reflect future climate risks, not just present conditions. This includes reinforcing foundations, using waterproofing materials, and ensuring adequate drainage systems in areas prone to rising water levels. Strict enforcement, backed by legal frameworks, is critical to ensuring compliance. Public engagement and responsibility. Public awareness and engagement are crucial in addressing large-scale environmental risks. By educating citizens and providing them with tools to monitor and safeguard their properties, governments can create a more resilient society where individuals and communities take ownership of their safety. Collaboration between public and private sectors. The success of Australia's model was largely due to the collaboration between the government, private developers, facility managers, and the general public. For other countries, partnerships between these sectors are vital to ensure that all stakeholders are working towards the same goals: protecting human lives and the built environment from climate threats. Environmental stewardship and long-term planning. Australia demonstrated the value of long-term environmental planning. Countries must acknowledge the realities of climate change and plan accordingly. This requires not only political will, but also moral commitment to future generations by investing in infrastructure that can withstand the evolving challenges of the planet. By following Australia's lead, countries around the world can avert disasters, protect their populations, and ensure the sustainability of their infrastructure in an era of increasing environmental risk. If you find this story insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more content on property, facility, and real estate management tips. Thank you for watching and see you next time. God bless you.